What's up, guys? It is that time of the year where the big baits and big rods start coming out. Now, if you're a guy like Jeff, you live on these things all year round. But if you're a guy like me who just likes to pull this stuff out when it's really the optimum time, we are about there. So if you are a swimbait angler or maybe wanting to get into swimbait fishing, one of the questions that constantly is thrown around here is what is the right rod to get. So today we are going to talk about swim baits, but more specifically we're going to talk about swim bait rods, how to choose the right swim bait rod, and we're going to specifically break down the Megabass lineup because there's a ton of rods in here that can fit depending on what you need the rod to do. So if you want to join us for a Megabass swim bait rod conversation, let's go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of Megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of OSP, Evergreen, Depths, Lucky Craft, Jackal, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of Megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of Megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com. What is up, my friends? I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, the Tackle Otaku on Instagram, being joined by the one and only Jeffrey the King. We're the Hookup Tackle USA. Jeff, good morning, sir.
What's up, buddy?
So I wanted to have this conversation because this is something that you and I talk about a lot, because I always love to pick your brain on the topic of swimbait fishing. That is your lane. And it's a question that comes through the shop every single day this time of the year. Once fall starts coming, we get those cooler temperatures, fish start feeding on bigger stuff, and guys start flocking to swim baits, glide baits, paddle tails, things that they don't normally throw through the course of the year. And when you're not used to throwing something on a daily basis, you're always trying to figure out your gear, right? So how to choose a swim bait rod, or understanding what type of rod you need for certain baits is important, because you got to have fun, right? You got to enjoy. Like we were just talking about how sore we're going to be next week chucking some baits when we go out to a certain place, right? So you need the rod to be able to load and to cast accurately and to do everything that makes your life enjoyable, but it also has to be able to keep the fish pinned or manipulate the bait. There's a lot that goes into it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's a lot more than what meets the eye.
Yes. So, like any lure or bait in this shop, you can dive down rabbit holes that are just never ending, and you can fine tune to exactly what you need. Like when you see guys post on Instagram, Jeff, and they have 900,000 different glide baits in their arsenal, doesn't it just make your head kind of fry? Like when I see guys that have too many things, I think that every bait has a different movement, a different cadence, needs something different. And I'm always going back to my gear, like, holy shit, this is a gear management nightmare on which rod to put this on. Like I'm more of a, here's my 3 or 4 or 5 tools that I love for this kind of fishing. Mm-hmm. And dialing in rods directly to that. How are you when you're building your war chest? Are you fine-tuning rods to specific baits, or are you just having a general rod that does this kind of general thing?
Well, it can be applied the same way as like in conventional fishing. You pick out, your favorite baits or favorite ways to fish those baits. Don't you want the perfect rod to fish that one specific thing, to where you feel like, wow, this thing is literally the best option for this specific thing? Whether that's throwing a buzzbait, you're picking the right rod where you're like, this thing handles a buzzbait great, casts it great, loads on fish, I love this rod, it feels perfect. Or if you're flipping and pitching, you have the right setup for that. It's the same thing with swimbait fishing, where I have my 8 to 10 baits that I really like to fish, and I have my rod specifically made for those baits, where it's like, yep, this is the best rod for this bait. And so every time I fish it, I'm like, all right, I'm in tune with this bait, and it just feels great. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at it.
Yep.
I can't imagine having, 30 different styles of one glide bait. Like, it's insane.
It would
'cause
drive you insane,
There's
right?
just too many, and they all, after a certain point, do the same thing. Where it's just a glide bait. It just depends. Which one do you want to go with?
Right.
At this
Yep.
point.
So, I love going down these rabbit holes of trying to fine tune the exact right rod to the exact right thing. And if you guys enjoy that, then, by all means, keep going down that rabbit hole. The challenge in a video like this is the exact right rod for the exact right bait is going to be different based on the person throwing it, the cadence you're going to use, what you want that bait to do or not do. So when we talk about these rods, we're going to talk about them in some generalizations on what they normally do really well. But by all means, this is going to be a trial and error thing. Right? You're going to have to try a certain thing and see if you like it to bend deeper or be faster or be shorter or be longer or all these things that come into it, right? So enjoy the process, right? Have fun trying different things out. But this is just to kind of get you guys pointed down the right path if you are at a place where, okay, you're going to get into swim bait fishing or you really want to start dialing your rods in. This is going to be the Megabass breakdown of what we recommend and what we see each one of these rods doing really well for the certain class of baits. So I think it's probably easiest to kind of start with classes of baits, right? Like, so when I think of swim baits, I usually think like small, medium, large, and then there's a whole other category for like extra large and double extra large stuff, right? And that almost kind of needs its own episode in a way, right? So I'm always thinking like a small swim bait for me is like 2 ounces and less. A 6-inch mag. Well, here, let me grab some. So for me, this would be kind of like a small swim bait, right? A 5 or a 6-inch mag draft, something like a slide swimmer 145 or 175, right? So you're talking about a 2.5 ounce bait, a jointed claw 178. So you're, stuff that's like 2 ounces or maybe a little bit less than 2 ounces, some smaller shad glides, that kind of stuff. When I'm thinking medium, I'm thinking more like that 2 to 4 ounce. So like a bluegill type glide, a rat, maybe a big crawler, that kind of next size. Then when I think large, I'm thinking more like slide swimmers, bigger eye slides, that kind of stuff. And then the XL is everything basically above a slide swimmer. So when you're going to 8, 10 ounces, mothers, so on and so forth, then that's that whole next category. But for something like this, the smaller size stuff, and you could throw like Tiny Clash in here, right? So for this kind of stuff, this is a really fun category to be in because you can throw these kind of baits literally every day and you can catch fish on literally every body of water that you go to. So if you're just kind of getting started, rolling in a 6-inch mag draft, 178 or 175 size, glide bait, they just catch fish. They're really easy to throw. And so let's start there and let's break down the rods that we would recommend in the Megabass arsenal for this. All right, so for years, the rod for the 6-inch mag draft has been this guy. And this is the Orochi XX Perfect Pitch. Now, they also make the same rod in the Levante. So you've got a $249 option, you have a $349 option. So you've got a couple different options here. The reason I picked the Orochi is going to be slightly faster than the Levante, right? So if you want the rod to be a little bit softer, go with the Levante. If you want it to be a little crisper, a little faster, go with the Orochi. That's the easiest way really to choose between those two lines across the board, right? So the Perfect Pitch is a 7.2 rod. It's 3/8 to 1.2 ounce is its rating, but it's been the rod that everybody's kind of thrown the 6-inch mag draft on for a long time. And the reason for that is it's relatively short and it has a really soft tip on it, but then it's really powerful down here. So what this soft tip allows you to do is it allows you to be really accurate close range. So a bait like a 6-inch mag draft or some of these smaller glides, like a 145 or 175, these are baits that a lot of times you're just making shorter, more accurate casts with. You're skipping a dock, you're throwing it down a lane of trees, you're putting it down a specific rock lane or a weed edge, right? They're not usually baits that you're just heaving out as far as you could possibly heave out. You need this really long rod to just chuck something really far, right? So if that's fitting your style of fishing, this is a really fantastic option. Now, if you are making longer casts or you need the rod to be just a little bit bigger, so for me, the perfect pitch and a 6-inch mag draft kind of go hand in hand. Rod down. So the perfect pitch and the 6-inch mag draft really go hand in hand. If you're going to the freestyle mag draft, I might bump to like the Triza Dragoon. Right? It just gives you a little bit faster, or a TS Destroyer Poker. But the perfect pitch is kind of the perfect one. Now, if you're going with the more mid-sized glide bait, so you're going with a 175 slide swimmer or 178 jointed claw, something like that, this is a rod that's slept on by a lot of guys, but it's absolutely unbelievable for that 1.5 to, I'd say, 2.5 ounce range. And this is the Orochi XX Launcher. Now, it's 711. It's designed as a deep crank rod, but it's absolutely perfect for that smaller size glide bait because it can handle the weight. I mean, we throw big M's on this thing non-stop. They're 2.5 ounces. So a 2.5 ounce glide bait is going to fish exactly the same. What's nice about this is that you've got that really nice parabolic bend in there. So it's a glass carbon composite. So once a fish bites, it keeps them pinned really incredibly well. So it's easy casting. It's super easy on you. You can put a normal size reel on this thing. You put like a Zillion HD or even like a Metanium DC or something just kind of normal without having to go to a full size, swim bait reel. It throws easy. It manages easy. It keeps them pinned. It's everything that you want it to do. So this is absolutely one that you're going to want in your arsenal if you're throwing that 2 ounce-ish glide bait. This one is absolute money. That's the Launcher. All right, guys, so the next step up in swim bait for me is what I would consider more of a mid-size swim bait. So that's going to be something like a 7 or 8 inch soft plastic. So it could be like a line through, like a 316 Rising Sun. It could be like an 8-inch mag draft. The next size up in glide bait, so something like a bigger, whether it's a shad profile, it could be something like a K9. It could be something like a bull shooter, maybe a big rat, right? A big crawler. Something that's in that, I would say, like 3 to 4 ounce range, right? There's a ton of baits that kind of live in that range. That's kind of the next size up. So once you kind of get to this size, it's a little too big for those rods that we just talked about. So let's break down the rods for that. All right, so for me, a rod, and I'm going to talk about this rod a couple of times in this episode. This is a rod that I live on. This is the Megabass TS Destroyer Blackjack. Now, they also make a rod called the Casino that can work really good in this lane. This is a 711 rod. Its lure rating is 1/2 ounce to 4 ounce, but this is a rod, and we've talked about this a lot, this is a rod that we all throw our 6 ounce bait on as well, right? So you're gonna hear me talk about this again. The reason I like this rod is A, it's super strong, and B, it's really kind of I wouldn't say it's a true parabolic rod, but it's pretty parabolic. So it's nice from the standpoint that it has some give to it, and that give allows you to make a nice accurate cast. It allows, when you actually hook a fish, it allows you to absorb a lot of that head shake and shock. So it's just a super sick rod, and it looks badass, right? Now, it is $600. Not everybody wants to spend $600 on a rod to throw this. So going down a little bit in price and to kind of a different style of a rod depending on how you're fishing, this would be another excellent option. This is the Valkyrie 7.4 Heavy Plus. Now, if you're fishing from a boat and you need that longer rod, Blackjack is the deal, right? But if you're fishing from shore, from a kayak, or maybe you're fishing from a boat, you're fishing really tight quarters, this is kind of a special rod because it's much shorter at only 7.4, and it can manage those baits into and through that 3 ounce category, right? Now, you can even make this rod shorter if you need to by adjusting the grip a couple of inches if you need to make close, tight little casts or anything that's really accurate and tight. This rod has a nice, soft giving tip and then remains pretty parabolic through the middle because it's a glass carbon construction. So you're gonna get that softness of the glass, but it's a very powerful rod as well. So that could be an excellent option, again, for tighter quarter stuff. Now, another rod that's really kind of taken their line by storm has been this guy, and this is the Valkyrie World Expedition series. Now these are multi-piece travel rods, so if you guys are, you know, hopping flights, you need something to throw in your car, for whatever reason you need a multi-piece rod, this is an amazing multi-piece rod. In fact, Jeff and I took some of these to Florida last time we went. So these are rods that go with us a lot. But even if you don't need a multi-piece rod, these are amazing rods. So we've had these in our arsenal now for the last couple years since they've been a thing. I have a set in my boat that have never come back apart. They've just been attached the whole time. So you can leave these as one-piece rods and you never really even know they are multi-piece. This is the 711 Extra Heavy. And this is gonna be similar to the Blackjack, but it's a little softer. So it bends even a little bit deeper than that Blackjack does. So it's really nice for that stuff that's like right at that like 2 to 3 ounce range. This would be a great one. If you're never breaking 2.5 ounces, I would pick the Launcher. But if every once in a while you go to that 3 or 4 ounce type bait, this one's amazing. It gives you the benefit of being able to throw the lighter and the heavier stuff. That's the 711 World Expedition Valkyrie. All right, now next jump up in swim bait is what I would consider more the large category, right? And this is gonna be stuff that's gonna be in that 5 to 6 ounce range, maybe even up to 7, okay? So things like a 10-inch mag draft, maybe a big 8-inch line through, slide swimmer 250, a staple around here, you know, a big jointed claw, a big eye slide, you know, something that's gonna have a lot of weight to it that you really need a rod to be able to manage. That's what we're gonna talk about now. Now, I just talked about the TS Destroyer Blackjack. That is my choice for like 250 size stuff. I love that rod for that 5 and 6 ounce type bait. It works beautifully, but Megabass has some other options that are fantastic at different price points. So this is a rod that's been out in their lineup for ages. It's called the Leviathan. So the Leviathan is a model that's available in both an Orochi and in a Levante. Now, getting back to what we talked about in the perfect pitch, you're gonna decide between these two based on what you want the rod to do. If you want it to be a little bit softer, you're gonna go with the Leviathan. And for $249, it's an amazing deal. If you want it to be a little faster, then you're gonna go with the Orochi. You're gonna add $100, but you're gonna get a little faster rod. Now, why do you want the slower versus the faster? This is personal preference. So if all you're doing is throwing glides and treble hook baits, it's nice to have that little bit of a slower rod. You can see that even kind of midway down through the rod here, it's still bending. So it's a pretty parabolic rod, and it's really light, right? So you can throw all of this 5 and 6 ounce stuff, no problem. You can even get away throwing a 2 or 3 ounce bait on this rod. So if you're gonna get one rod to kind of do everything in the line, for me, it's either this guy or the Blackjack. Those are the two that really kind of do everything. But I find that this rod loves throwing more that 4, 5, and 6 ounce bait. That's really where this one shines. Now, if you go with the Orochi, it's gonna be a little bit faster, right? So it's still gonna have a little bit of give to it in that top section, but then as you start getting down to this midsection here, it doesn't quite bend as much. It's still not, it's far from a broomstick. Right, so it's still not like a super fast, just soft bait rod. You can see there's still a little bit of give. But if I'm gonna throw like a mag draft, you know, that 10-inch mag, or I'm gonna throw like a big Citizen or something like that where I might need a little bit more hook setting power, I'm gonna choose the Orochi over that Leviathan pretty much every time. Now, a couple other rods to talk about that are super popular in the line, and these are really gonna be for if that 6 ounce size, so let's say you're throwing like a slide swimmer 250 and maybe up a little bit, right? So maybe you're gonna dabble in some 8 or 9 ounce type baits and you need a rod that can throw a 250 really well, but could also manage that next size up, then one of these could be a great option for you. So within the TS Destroyer line, they make a rod called the Bacarat and the King of Bacarat. Now, these two rods are very, very similar. The ratings are much different. So the Bacarat's a 4 to 10 ounce. The King of Bacarat is a 3 to 15 ounce, so you get even more. I mean, it's a pretty huge range, right? But realistically, I would say this is gonna handle that 6 to 8, 9, 10 ounce bait really, really well. I wouldn't push this one to 15. Right, I would get the hunting weapon for that. Right? And that's, like I said, that's a whole other category of nuttiness, right? But if you guys are gonna play, both of these rods can be Really good options. They have almost the same identical bend to them. The difference in these rods is the Bacarat is going to have a shorter grip, that's this guy, and the King of Bacarat is going to have a longer grip, which is this guy. So the King is the one that's going to fish more like a big swimbait rod. The regular Bacarat is a little shorter grip, and it's better for like shorter distance type casting. So if you're fishing from shore, you're fishing from a kayak, or you're fishing from a boat and you're real tight and you're just making little kind of rolls and tosses, the actual Bacarat is going to fish similar to what you would experience in a perfect pitch or a mad bull or something like that, just in a much bigger offering. The King is going to be more of an open water rod where you're going to be able to reach back down and make, you know, I don't know, bigger, farther type casts with your swim bait. So that's kind of how you decipher between those two. Weight-wise, they both kind of manage the same. So that's the King of Bacarat and the Bacarat in the TS Destroyer. All right, guys, so that is the breakdown. Now, again, there are rods to manage even more than what we just spoke about. You've got hunting weapons, you got tentagens, you got 8-foot triple extra heavy Valkyries, right? So if you guys are really pushing the envelope in weight, then shoot us a DM and we'll help get you dialed. But for fun swim bait fishing, we've covered the gamut. This is all the stuff that's fun. It's gonna get you out there. It's gonna get you down the rabbit hole and get you super addicted. So if you guys have any questions on the rods and the models that we covered, drop them down below and I will definitely get to it. Jeff will leave links to the rods also, so if you wanna go in and see the specs and how everything's listed, definitely check them out. But if you guys have questions on any of the specs and what they really do well, of course, drop us a message down below or on Instagram, shoot me a DM, call the store, come in, whatever works for you, and we'll definitely get you dialed. On behalf of myself and Jeff and everybody here at the Hookup Tackle guys, thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your business, and we will see you again soon. Enjoy the swim bait season. Have fun, everyone. Peace.